Please rise if you wish for the invocation and the pledge. Dear God, as we near the end of this year and look forward to the coming one, we reflect on the privilege we, the elected body, and the staff have in planning for the future of our city. It is a privilege we enjoy more fully now than in several years past, when there were immediate operational and governance issues to command our attention. We are grateful that now we can focus on managing inevitable growth in a manner that protects the things we hold dear, on taking the lead in suggesting ways to improve new mandates like the Live Local Act, and on looking to future needs for things like more public green space and the needs of our children, including schools. As we consider the matters before us this evening, grant us wisdom, knowledge, and understanding that we may make the best decisions for those who have entrusted us to represent them. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This is the regular City Council meeting for the month of December. We have someone standing in for the City Clerk. Would you do the roll call, please?
Councilmember Sell.
Here.
Councilmember Pappalardo.
Here.
Councilmember Stevenson.
Here.
Mayor Chazet.
Here.
Vice Mayor Butlin.
Here.
Do we have any public participation for items not on the agenda?
No, we do not.
Okay, then the first thing for us this evening is the approval of minutes of the regular City Council meeting of December 1, 2023. And this November 1, 2023, and special City Council meeting November 15, 2023.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the regular City Council meeting November 1st, 2023, and the special City Council meeting November 15th of 2023.
Second.
Councilmember Sell?
No,
Oh, I'm sorry.
I made a motion to.
Yes, you did. Vice Mayor Butlin?
Yes.
Councilmember Pappalardo?
Yes.
Councilmember Sell?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevenson?
Yes.
And I am a yes. Are there any additions, deletions, or amendments to this agenda? Hearing none, we will move on to presentations. First, we have a certificate of recognition, and I would like to invite Don Nyer to come forward to the front of the chambers.
She's coming down there.
The city wishes to recognize and honor Donald Nyer for his 50 years of service to the citizens of DeBary with the DeBary Volunteer Firemen's Association. And whereas Don originally started as a firefighter with the DeBary Volunteer Fire Department and later served as chief, and whereas Don remained an active firefighter during the time the city contracted with Volusia County and was recognized by the county for his actions and service, and whereas Don remained active as the volunteer firefighters transitioned into the DeBary Fire Support Team, still serving our community and working with the Orange City Fire Department as it protects the city of DeBary. And whereas we would also like to express our sincere appreciation to Don for his service to the DeBary community for the 20 years prior to the city's incorporation. Now therefore I, Karen Chazet, Mayor of the City of DeBary, and on behalf of the DeBary City Council, do hereby tender to Donald Nyer this certificate of public recognition, extending to him our congratulations on his 50 years of service and our best wishes for continued success in the future. In witness thereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the City of DeBary to be affixed this 6th day of December, 2023. Thank you. Thank you so much. There is a seal to be added, but Annette's mother died, and she wasn't able to do it, so we'll take care of it.
I can only accept this on behalf of every volunteer firefighter and now volunteer and career firefighter that started before me, that I worked with, that I'm still working with. I have special words for Rodney, who kind of got me into the EMS side of everything. I see some of our old folks from county, Joe and Bill. Anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. David, did you want to come?
On a related note, I'd also like to inform the council that the DeBarry Volunteer Firemen's Association is celebrating its 70th year of service to the city. And in recognition, I would like to present the members of the city council with a commemorative coin, not too dissimilar from the ones you just got from the city. So, Mayor,
Thank you so much.
thank you for your help.
Yes.
Thank you, Dave. Your support. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Thank you.
None of that.
Everything fell on this year.
Thank you so very much. Would you want to say a word or two in the microphone there?
Again, I want to thank you as president of the DeBarry Volunteer Firemen's Association for the support the city has shown us over the years, especially with the acquisition of the new truck, which is now currently, it's going out on call right now. We almost got called out in the middle, but we have 2 members standing by on the truck, and they've headed to the call. So thank you. And can I get a group photo with
Sure.
all the association?
Come on up and stand behind you.
We will stand up here if you all would like to stand in front, and then the photo can be taken of all of us together.
Sometimes we like really spread out up here.
Yeah.
Can you see me?
Not anymore.
Not with your tall husband in front of you, I can't.
I know, that's okay. Got it with you? Can we all get in there?
Got everybody?
I think we got everybody. Let me go back a little further. 70 people that were hiding over here. You don't count?
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome, thank you.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Next on our agenda is a presentation on the Transportation Planning Organization Citizens Advisory Committee, an update from John McFarlane, who is representing the city on that board. Welcome, John.
Hello. All right, so we have several months to go through, but a lot of stuff, but not really much pertaining here. In August, we were presented a proposed parking areas along I-4 close to Daytona, 4.8 miles west of I-95 to be exact, one eastbound, one northbound. They're working out details. The 472 and Minnesota Avenue improvements have been finished, and there was notes, no discussion on it, but I saw in the notes, because that was my first meeting, that there's still an ongoing traffic study for Dirksen Drive to widen that to 4 lanes or something between 1792 and I-4, but no details, just that it's still ongoing. In September, there was a proposal to include more parts of Flagler County into the TPO based on the 2020 census data, and we were given a presentation on why that would be good, and the following month, we recommended to approve it. There is a repaving from State Route 44, State Route 44 from Hill to I-4, with the exception of Kepler Road, which is going to have a roundabout to begin construction in the summer of 2024. And there's also a roundabout that is scheduled to start, no specific date yet, at 1792 and Spring Garden Ranch Road. In October, that's when we approved the addition of all of Flagler County, recommended the approval of all of Flagler County into the TPO. There was a motion to recommend adding a proposed trail to the Sun, which is the shared non-use motorized trail projects from Osteen to Ormond through the wildlife corridor. There's a proposed improvement to 1792 and Enterprise Road intersection, which would be the removal of the free flow right turn lane going from Enterprise to northbound 1792 and replacing that with 2 right turn lanes at the existing light. And then in November, there were several votes that were taken of the citizen. Did I do that? Okay, I don't know what I touched. There were several votes that the Citizens Advisory Committee voted on to recommend to the Transportation Planning Organization for various resolutions that we approved that they go to the board. There was also a motion, and we approved to add 2 new trails to the Sun, which is the shared use non-motorized trail projects list, which would be one from Old Kings Road at the Volusia-Flagler line to Palm Coast, and Old Brick Road, which was from US 1 to Flagler-St. Johns County line, which again is through the wildlife corridor. Being that we're the epicenter of the trail system, always good to know where you can get from DeBary to everywhere. And then we were presented a PowerPoint for the FDOT's 5-year work program. They deferred a project on LPGA till 2028, and they deferred a I-95 and Maytown Road new interchange until 2028, and they deleted an improvement that was going to happen at I-95 and US 1. And we ended the November meeting with Votran giving us a PowerPoint on their new VoRide system, which I'm sure all of you have known about, but it will be a curb-to-curb service, not a door-to-door service. And by implementing that, they're going to phase out some of the low ridership routes in the West Volusia area. They're starting in DeLand. Actually, they started 12/5, so yesterday. They've started the VoRide. And they're going to expand into DeBary, Deltona, Orange City after they probably work out their kinks up there. It appeared, based on the information given, that DeBary will still retain its route from Orange City down to the Sunrail, but one of the auxiliary ones is scheduled to be phased out as VoRide becomes more used and they can eliminate the unnecessary routes. So that's all I've got for 4 months of it, and
Yes, I was present at today's board meeting, so when it passes your committee, it goes to the board, and I'm the representative on the board. And we did, in each of these months, the board did confirm. This morning was the follow-up to your November meetings. The only thing I would mention is that the deleted I-95 and US 1, it was deleted from that one program because there was an acceleration of funding in another part of the program. So it is not an improvement that's being deleted. It has gotten some of the accelerated funding that came through the state and federal governments in the last several months. That is one that I know many people are looking forward to because that is the oldest interchange on 95 in our area. So, but wonderful to have your input and your report on the various things that are being worked through there.
all right.
Any other comments or questions? Okay. Thank you so
Thank you
much,
very
John.
much. We
I
appreciate
appreciate
it.
you representing the city on that board. Next, we have a Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting, and appropriately, our Finance Director will present.
Good evening, Liz Bauer, Finance Director for the City of DeBary. For a few years, we've been talking about upgrading our audit report to an annual comprehensive financial report, which is referred to as an ACFR. And to create the ACFR, we had to prepare a transmittal letter and a statistical section with about 18 tables, and most of those tables have 10 years of data in them. And the tables have information about net position, fund balance, property values, debt, and demographic information. For fiscal year 2022, we prepared and submitted the ACFR to the GFOA, which is the Government Finance Officers Association of the United States and Canada. The GFOA has an impartial panel that judges the report and determines if it meets the high standards of the program. So about a week ago, we got some great news that the city earned its first Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting for fiscal year ended 9/30/2022. The certificate that you see on the screen is what it looks like, and that will be in our next audit report, and also the GFOA will be sending us a certificate and a plaque to go along with that. This is a news release. The GFOA suggests the city put out a news release, which I know our communication department is working on that. And I just wanted to read you one of the sections that the GFOA wants incorporated. The Certificate of Achievement is the highest form of recognition in the area of governmental accounting and financial reporting, and its attainment represents a significant accomplishment by a government and its management. The GFOA also issues an award for 3 of the staff members that had the most involvement in the preparation of the ACFR. So this year, me, Wesley Grissom, and Michael Jones have received that award also. Now, what's going to happen is this slideshow is going to take us through about 18 tables, kind of quick, so don't worry, we won't have to study it or anything, but I just wanted to show the depth of information that is in those tables, and you can see the work that went into creating that. A lot of numbers.
10 years. That's awesome.
Almost done. All right, so there we go. So I'd like to give special recognition and my thanks to the finance team for their hard work and dedication every day. Every day they work hard to ensure all the departments are following policies and procedures and that we are in compliance with various rules, regulations, and Florida statutes. So I want to send my thanks out to Wesley Grissom, the Deputy Finance Director, Mike Jones, the Budgeting and Purchasing Manager, and Carlos Risco, the Senior Accountant. And also my special thanks to the council for their support over the years to transition from regular audited financial statements to this ACFR. And so we were able to get this recognition, so thank you very much.
Liz, I just want to say on behalf of the council how much I appreciate the effort of all 4 of the people on your team and your leadership in this area. Us moving to the annual comprehensive financial report has been a goal of the city for a number of years, and it was deferred with things like COVID interrupting operations and other things. And to have achieved this and to get the recognition this year is truly an accomplishment. And on behalf of myself personally and the council as a whole, I want to say thank you. And please communicate our appreciation to every member on your team. And extra congratulations to you, Wes and Mike, who got the recognition from the overseeing body. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Next, we have item number 3 on the agenda. This is a public hearing. The city manager is requesting the city council approve the first reading of ordinance number 14-2023, submitting to referendum an amendment to the city charter to allow council members to run for the position of mayor without the need for a one-year hiatus. City Attorney, would you read ordinance number 14-2023, please?
Yes, Mayor. Ordinance number 14-2023, an ordinance of the City of DeBary, Florida, submitting to referendum an amendment to the city charter to allow council members to run for the position of mayor without the need for a one-year hiatus, providing for advertisement of the referendum, submission of the question, and charter amendment contained herein to the qualified electors of the City of DeBary at a general election where such amendment will be incorporated into the city charter if approved, providing for codification of adopted charter amendment severability and an effective date of this ordinance and charter amendment if approved.
Thank you, City Manager. Since it's your request, I assume you are presenting.
I am, Mayor. I've received some requests from council members, and so we drafted a particular ordinance. I wanted to just do a little bit of history here, and I provided this in your packet there. Back in 2020, we established a charter review commission that went to ballot in 2020. As you can see here, this is the worksheet that we had as I was a management sponsor of the Charter Review Commission. We did have in some of the changes during the commission was to eliminate the one-year hiatus for council members who had the same term as the mayor. As we felt at that particular time, and as the commission felt, that it prevented some unfairness to all the members. The penalty for having the same term as the mayor was really theoretically a 4-year penalty or hiatus. And so for some council members, it was okay because their terms were different because our terms are staggered. But for some of the council members, it was actually not a 1-year hiatus. It was actually a 4-year hiatus because they got the same time frame as the mayor term. And so when we went through the workshops, there wasn't one council member who brought up I remember had brought up a concern about it. There didn't seem to be an objection, so we had removed it out. And when we brought it to ordinance, this was what was considered for ordinance when we brought it to the council for the 2020 election. And so I just wanted to back that up a little bit just to show you just a little history. And even to provide you some additional history, when I was on the council in 1993 to 2000, I was city council member and then vice mayor. And then I was able to run for mayor without having to sit out a 1-year term. So there is a precedent set when we were beginning as a city. And the really kind of objective at that particular time was to promote organizational consistency. That's one of the things that we always try to do organizationally. If we think organization, we try to do what's best for the organization, not for us. But also provides an environment of integrity, trust, and respect because it gives the voters an option to continue, folks that have an option to move up and have the experience to be able to continue to run the organization and experience not only the consistency, but also to continue to achieve the excellence that we're looking for. But always, everybody, including the courts, always want to maximize voter options. And I think that's really important that we give the voters the maximum amount of options to select whoever they want for these particular positions. And so I did a little chart here just to kind of describe the time frames. Seat 1 and 2, January 1, 2020. Unfortunately, Mr. Sell and Mr. Pappalardo, you're up for your term ends at next year, at the end of next year, December 31st, 2024. And if you were to choose to run for mayor, theoretically, you would have a 2-year hiatus simply because you have the time frame of your term. But then seats 3 and 4, obviously your terms run from July 1, 2022 to December 31st, 2026. Theoretically, you would not have, with the mayor's position taking effect July 1, 2027, theoretically, you would have a 0 years of hiatus. I mean, therefore, under the current term, you could not run for mayor. You would have to sit out 4 years. So the first time you would become eligible, which is column number 4, would be January 1, 2031. It's tough to say those numbers. It's way out there in the future. And so therefore, there's the 4-year hiatus that you would theoretically have to sit out in order to be able to run for mayor. But when we change the language to eliminate the 1-year hiatus, then it puts all the council members on the same playing field. All of them can run for mayor, which takes effect January 1, 2027, with this particular change. Now, when you pass this ordinance on first reading and second reading, it doesn't happen automatically. It has to go to the voters, and the voters shall choose whether or not to approve this or not. And that's the checks and balances for the charter. You can recommend anything for any charter change, but it's ultimately the voters that decide what the charter change should be. So basically, this is a change we're making, and this is in section 503B. And a candidate who is serving in the council seat, except for seat 5, the office of mayor, and whose second term of office is scheduled to conclude at the same time as a term of office for seat 5, may qualify for seat 5 without complying with the requirements in subsection A, which is the 1-year hiatus, that he or she remain off the city council for a 1-year period following his or her second consecutive term. Any such candidate, if elected to seat number 5, would be eligible to serve 2 consecutive full terms of office as mayor. And on the bottom there, you would see in the ordinance, it has drafted the actual question that will be on the ballot. And you can see the question there, and that will be on the November 5th, 2024 ballot, which is also, if Councilmember Sell and Councilmember Pappalardo rerun for their seats, that would be part of their reelection as well. So,
I have a question.
sure.
If seats 1 and 2, currently held by Councilmember Sell and Pappalardo, if they chose to run for a second term in their existing positions, could they not also choose to run for mayor if they comply with the resign to run law? In other words, be reelected in 2024, taking office Jan 1, 2025, and choose anytime up to qualifying in 2025, which is the election year for 2026, election year for 2027, they would have to, under Florida Resign to Run, submit if they wanted to run for mayor. In other words, when my term is up, I will be termed out, for those here not following the math. At the end of 26, I am termed out. So the position of mayor will come available beginning January 1, 2027. But I believe that any sitting council member should be allowed to file to run for mayor, whether they're in their second term or their first term or whatever, if they comply with Florida Resign to Run law, and in June, prior to qualifying, submit a resignation letter taking effect as the statute requires, which is so that it does not overlap the term for which they're running for. I think that any sitting council member in seats 1 and 2, as well as seats 3 and 4, could run for mayor when I am termed out in that election. But I don't see that this language would make that clear. And so that is a question that I have, is am I not reading this correctly?
Well, in our current charter, if somebody was elected to a second term and they got halfway through the second term and decided to run for mayor, they would have to resign at least 1 year in advance, because they would serve 2 terms. They would be in their second term. Theoretically, they'd be serving their second term, in my opinion. And they would have to resign at least 1 year before the effective date of the mayor, which is July 1, 2027. So theoretically, if Mr. Sell or Mr. Pappalardo re-ran and were elected to the second term, they would have to resign before January 1, 2026 in order to run for mayor. Does that make sense?
Under the current rules. But if we change it, this is not totally clear to me. If we change it as proposed, would they also not be able to run, would they be able to run for mayor as well?
In my opinion, I believe they would be able to run for mayor as well.
With, complying with resign to run?
Yes.
Okay. And we only want this to apply to people who are in their second consecutive term of office. We do not want it to apply to people in their first term of office. Say if, well, these gentlemen are in their first term of office. So if it were theoretically, the mayor was up this fall, could they resign to run 2 years into their first term? No, because we're saying second term of office. Is that something that has been preserved in the charter since the beginning?
If somebody had ran, for example, this would just apply to seat 3 and 4, if they only served 1 year, they could run for mayor the following year, but only can serve 1 year as mayor, because that would be 2 consecutive terms. You can't, in our particular charter, there's no provisions where I can run for 2 terms at seat 1 and then jump to seat 2 and run 2 more terms and jump to seat 3 and run those. That is not in our charter. You can't do that. For example, seat 3 and 4 were elected for 1 term. Yes, they could run for mayor, but only can serve 1 term as mayor, because that would be 2 consecutive terms, is the way I believe the charter is written today.
Okay, and City Attorney, do you believe that the language proposed here makes that clear, or it makes that legal?
I think Carmen's right. I think I'm sorry. It doesn't expressly deal with that question, because I think it's already dealt with. So for example, if seats 1 and 2, they're in their first term and they resign during the first term, then they're still treated, I think, and that's what I was looking for, the language on the chart. They're treated as if they've filled their
So they could
serve their
only,
full
they could
term.
run for mayor, but only have 1 term as mayor before they termed out.
Yes.
Okay.
Could I add, the clause that answers this, that's in the current, I
Yeah.
brought my notes from the Charter Review Committee.
Excellent, thank you.
The clause specifically reads, "No member of the council shall serve, or, but for the resignation would have served more than 2." So they say if you are resigning, you're counting yourself as a full term no matter what.
Okay,
That's right.
So you're.
all right.
So if someone if someone on the same cycle as mayor entering their second, if they resign, it doesn't matter, it counts as a full term.
Okay. The reason that I asked questions first before I went down the dais, and I will go down the dais, was that I wanted to be clear that this change would not just benefit those in seats 3 and 4, that the seats 1 and 2 also have the ability to run for mayor as well when I term out. Is that, they would only be eligible for 1 term as mayor, but they have the ability to set their sights on being mayor for 1 term. Okay. Councilmember Sell, questions or comments?
I don't know if anybody out in the audience's head is spinning with all that, but just an example, Patricia and Phyllis in a couple of years will be done as council members. Right now, currently, Phyllis and Patricia would have to step away for a year. Even though they have 8 years of experience, they'd have to step away for a year. In between that time, we would have a brand-new mayor, just out of the blue, and also 2 new council members. So a majority of this council will be brand new. I mean,
As it
people
was
like
the
that.
year we were elected.
Yeah.
It turned out okay in my opinion, but you're correct.
Some people may like that. Some people like change for the sake of change. Some people don't. So if this goes on a referendum on the ballot, you can vote and allow Phyllis and Patricia now, not picking on them, the opportunity to run for mayor. Now, how you explain that,
In
on
these
there
little
to
words?
here,
Yeah.
it's super wordy, but I don't know how else, I know you know,
Right.
I know it has to be wordy.
And I think any explanation has to also include the fact that the mayor's position would be available to seats 1 and 2 as well, although they would not get
Yeah,
2
absolutely.
terms.
Yeah.
And again, it's just not them, it's for everyone. It gives the most options, and the
But currently-
voters will ultimately choose who they want in those
Currently,
seats.
Right.
those are two shining great examples to say, nope, you have to sit out. We're going to put 3 new people in, and now you got to wait 4 years, and let's hope that the new mayor is a winner. Could be, could not be. We
Correct.
don't know.
We've had both.
Right. So it's a crapshoot for sure. So I'm personally, I like the idea to give both Patricia and Phyllis the opportunity to run for mayor when they're termed out. I do agree with that. Because, you know, currently I know Jim and I would like a little bit of stability. And this will just follow on down the road. But how you get this on the ballot and have people understand exactly what it does and doesn't do is going to be a task.
Well, isn't really the focus is you create equality effectively between the seats?
Yeah.
So I think if folks understand that it would give, this really corrects, I won't say correct, it changes it so that each council member, each seat has that same opportunity.
I agree, totally, yeah.
However, 2 seats only have an opportunity at
1 year.
1 year.
Yeah.
One term, not 1 year.
Yeah,
one
I'm sorry, 1 term, right, correct.
1 term, and 2 seats would have the opportunity at 2 terms.
That's correct.
Okay, just being clear.
I have nothing else to add.
Okay, Councilmember Papalardo.
So I'm kind of going to go through a little history of the Charter Review Commission from 2020. That was, at the time, it was the committee's, as well as my own opinion, that a promotion clause wasn't the appropriate interpretation for Article 5. Much of the charter treats and assigns different duties to the mayor. We also ran a comparative analysis and felt that it was common and appropriate to enable that promotion clause. That was kind of how we communicated it in layman's terms, was promotion clause, you're promoting yourself from council to mayor. We felt there's enough rights and responsibilities to the mayor that it's almost a totally different office, because it is the executive of the board. It's not just a voting member. They can set the agenda, whereas we can only petition to set the agenda. The committee also concluded that it was an increase in the democratic selection for the voters, that it wouldn't be limiting participation of any sort. We thought, and functionally, it was the most appropriate course of action. I think that was the only proposal of the referendum that did not make it out of council approval. And then we passed 6 out of 7 that did make it through. And 1 failed by 14 votes that had to be hand recounted. So I think it's important to note that this was opined on by a committee that put together a very thoughtful analysis to establish this promotion clause, and I would like to see this be put on the ballot.
Thank you. Councilmember Stevenson.
Thank you. I do like that it's been pointed out that this makes it more fair for all the council members. Personally, I don't really have any intentions to run for mayor, so it doesn't really affect me personally.
Well, you've got a couple of years to consider. It's
Big shoes to fill, though, ma'am. But yes, I think that bringing this to the voters, you know, we can say, yes, let's go ahead and throw this back out. I appreciate the committee refreshment of what they had talked about. So I don't see any problem with this, because in the end, the voters are going to decide. Hopefully, the language is clear. And if that's what they want, the continuity for our council and our city, I think could be a good thing.
Vice Mayor Butlin.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm all for seeing this. The public has never seen this option. It never made it to the ballot.
Right.
So they've never had an opportunity to vote for it or against it. So now that we're bringing it, I spent lengthy time talking with Carmen and legal about it, because I was concerned to make it equal across the board, which I think this covers all that. So there are statutes in place, there's ordinances in place, and I think this is just complements and adds to what we have already to make it clearer for everyone. We are probably going to have to campaign for it, you know, like a regular campaign, just to make people aware of what the situation is. But I'm willing to get out there and say, vote yes for it. So I'm willing to have it on the ballot for consideration.
Thank you, and my remarks will be brief. I do think that, that it will serve the public to have more options for mayoral candidates in the future. It does make it fairer in that any sitting council member who has experience could vie for mayor, should they choose. And sitting out 1 year when there's a 4-year term is an odd sort of thing to have ensconced in our charter, because it really means 4 years, 2 years to 4 years. And so putting 1 year in there is an odd thing in my view. I would say that should this pass on this evening, that, and then I guess we would have a second reading, should it pass on second reading, I think that there should be a concerted communication strategy from the city to explain what this change would mean, and in as simple a language as possible, and make it clear that with this change, any sitting council member would have the opportunity to vie for mayor. And that's how, I don't think the city takes the city cannot campaign for the change.
Correct.
But the city can communicate what the change would mean. So I think the vice mayor is correct that if you're going to take a position on it, you can do that individually as politicians, but the city can provide, hopefully, clear guidance as to what the proposed language change means in easy to understand terms.
And this is the fact sheet that we published last time the charter amendments were on there. It's a fact sheet to describe what the current language is, what the proposed language is. Certainly, we can add comments. Yeah, you can't-
I think that the
cannot
individuals that would read this in the newsletter, their eyes would glaze over. I'm hoping for something a little easier to understand. You may need to put this in for reasons that legal reasons, but I do think that we need an easier to understand synopsis that it doesn't look like we're trying to snow them with regulatory language or something.
Okay.
Okay, if there's no further discussion, I would entertain a motion.
And Mayor, there's no public participation.
There is no public participation, thank you.
All right, I'm going to make am I on? Yes, I'm on. I would make a motion to approve the first reading of ordinance number 14-2023, submitting to referendum an amendment to the city charter to allow council members to run for the position of mayor without the need of a 1-year hiatus.
Second?
Vice Mayor Butlin?
Yes.
Councilmember Sell?
Yes.
Councilmember Papalardo?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevenson?
Yes.
And I am a yes. The next item on our agenda is number 4, under Growth Management and Development. Staff is requesting the City Council approve the order of condemnation for 239 Angeles Road, DeBary, Florida. This is a quasi-judicial hearing, and under Resolution 1521, I am required to outline how this process goes. And so the first, as this screen shows, this is the order of business for a quasi-judicial hearing. In this kind of a hearing, the council sits of the quasi-judicial as if it were a sort of a trial. So the first thing is that we would swear in witnesses, and this will be done by the person acting as the city clerk. Then there will be a disclosure of ex parte communications, if any, by the city council. The city staff will do the proposal for 10 minutes and have up to 10 minutes to describe the issue at hand. The applicant or individual with standing in the case will have up to 15 minutes to follow the city staff, and any portion of that may be reserved for rebuttal. If there is public participation, individuals have 3 minutes each, groups have 6 minutes each. If there is public participation, the applicant has a rebuttal period, 10 minutes plus any reserved time. Then there are deliberations and questions from the city council, And after those are exhausted, there is action by the council. And the council must uphold these responsibilities. They need to, and they are on the screen, I won't read them to you, but it basically says we are deciding this on the facts and the evidence, and that should guide our decision. So with that guidance, we will begin with the swearing in of the witnesses. City Attorney, are you going to do that?
Glad to do it, Mayor.
Okay.
Everybody that expects to testify during this hearing, please stand and raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that everything you testify to is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? I do. Okay.
Now, the individual who is an individual of standing, are you a lawyer?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so your lawyers are already sworn in, and that's the reason why we didn't have that individual sworn in, and that's for the information for the public. So city staff will do the presentation now. Oh, I'm sorry, we did not do ex parte communications. Councilmember Sell, did you have any ex parte communications?
No communications at all.
Councilmember Papalardo?
None.
Councilmember Stevenson?
No, I did not.
Vice Mayor Butlin?
No.
And I did not as well. Now we will go to the presentation by staff.
Good evening, council members. For the record, my name is Joseph Barker, Senior Planner with the Growth Management Department. Tonight, I'll be representing staff in regards to this request for condemnation at 239 Angelus Road. Staff is requesting the City Council approve the order of condemnation for 239 Angelus Road, a property that is uninhabitable and is currently a public safety risk. The property owner is Eco Home Company, LLC. The building official, fire marshal, and code official have all found the structure to be dilapidated, uninhabitable, and in unsafe condition. Please, you can see Exhibit B, and I'll also be showing an image in this PowerPoint of the paperwork, of the official paperwork. The property is an unfinished single-family structure that violates multiple provisions of Section 30-224 of the Code of Ordinances. This map shows the location of the property. It isn't within the red outline. It is one or 200 feet east of the intersection of Angelus Road and Bonito Road. We do have a general timeline of events for this case. On August 15, 2019, a building permit was issued for this structure. On November 11, 2019, the last building inspection was conducted in which the structure failed. On December 15, 2019, all permits for the structure expired. Starting October 28, 2020 until February 25th, 2023, 6 special assessment liens were recorded for a total of $1,080. On October 23rd, 2023, the 45-day notice as pursuant to Section 30-226 of the Code of Ordinances was posted. Representatives notified. 2 notices were returned and 1 signed for by NRAI Services Incorporated. You can see this 45-day notice in Exhibit C of your packets. Here is the image of the paperwork I mentioned earlier. This is the condemnation sign-off sheet, which indicates that the structure in question tonight is dilapidated and severely damaged by elements of nature and decayed wood, and specifically in regards to the roofing, sheathing, the flashing and rafters, and water intrusion and mold. In addition, there is also a criminal health and safety risk due to the potential for transients, the risks for vandalism, and also being a fire hazard. This was signed by the building official, code official, and the fire marshal. I now present some images that were taken December 5th, 2023 by staff members, and is also Exhibit D in your packets. As you can see, the roof and flashing is quite dilapidated, and the structure is open to the public. Anyone can walk in here. Here is a close-up of the structure. As you can see, anyone can walk in here and do whatever it is they please. In fact, I came by today to take a look at it myself. And it is definitely quite open to criminal activity. In addition to the risk for criminal activity, we also have evidence of structural damage. There is water damage and mold. In addition, the roof has taken some damage as well. You can see near the upper left-hand corner some light shining through, indicating that even the interior is exposed to the elements. Here is more evidence of water damage and mold. Further evidence of water damage and again mold, as well as the roof being exposed to the elements. And this last image really shows how pervasive the mold problem is in this building. As you can see, it seems to be just about everywhere. So with these facts stated, staff recommends that the City Council approve the order of condemnation and to demolish the structure immediately, and to authorize the city manager to expend the necessary funds to execute this order. Implementation would involve hiring a demolition company pursuant to the city's purchasing policy and procedures. And upon sale of the property, a lien will be placed on the property to make up city costs for the demolition. And upon the sale of the property, the lien amount will be collected and returned to general fund reserves. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
That is not how the process works, but you'll stay at the ready for when we get to that part of the process. We have an individual here who has some standing in the case, and she would be invited to the podium to speak. I believe this is Olivia Garcia?
Yes,
Yes.
Mayor.
Okay, so you have your time now to 15 minutes, which perhaps may be more than adequate, to explain your view on this situation.
Thank you. My name is Attorney Olivia Garcia, and I represent the lender for this property, MS Manda LLC. You'll notice on the speaker sign-up form, I checked the box that we are opposing condemnation, but if there were a box named hybrid, I would have checked that one, because that's more how our position is. We have no objections to the condemnation of the property, but we would ask for an extended demolition date, and I'll get into that in a minute. But first, I think it's important to give you some background on the owner of this property, the Echo Home Company, LLC. Echo Home Company owned several properties all across Florida, mainly in Volusia County, Lee County, and Orange County, many of which were already foreclosed on by my firm, as we held mortgage liens on each of the properties. One thing that was common on all of these properties is that there were similarly structured properties, or I guess lack thereof structured properties. It's my understanding that Echo Homes ran out of money to complete the projects and ran out of money to pay my client, which is why they were foreclosed on. We've been given instructions to foreclose on this property. The only thing keeping us from filing that foreclosure sooner was a title defect that prevented us from being entitled to foreclose at that time. That title issue was recently resolved in a separate lawsuit handled by a different attorney, and we expect to file the foreclosure on this property within the next few weeks. Through the prior foreclosure cases that we had with Echo Homes, my firm and Echo Homes Counsel developed a settlement agreement related to all the properties that Echo Homes owns, including the one that's the subject of this hearing, where Echo Homes did agree to the entry of a final judgment of foreclosure of most of their properties, including this one. So what that means is they're not going to be contesting the foreclosure once it's filed. We can immediately go to final judgment, and a sale would be, it's normally about 30 days after final judgment's entered. So once this foreclosure action is filed, we expect it to be a very expeditious process that would be resolved fairly quickly, where it would go to sale, and I would expect my client to be the successful purchaser at the judicial sale. They were the successful purchaser at many of the other foreclosure sales, probably due to the fact that nobody wants to buy a property with, a half-built house on it. As soon as they would be holding title to it, they would immediately demolish the property. I've spoken to my client yesterday. They've already spoken to a demolition crew to get estimates on how much it would cost to complete the project. I completely understand and agree with the city's position to demolish the structure on the property, and my client has the same wishes as the city does when it comes to this property, which is bringing it into a condition that poses no threats of injury or harm to people, and bringing it up to the city's standards so that it can be sold to someone who will take care of the property. As such, we would ask the city council work with us to give us a couple months to file and finish the foreclosure to save the city time and money when it comes to the demolition. So we would ask that even if the city council agrees to condemn the property, that the actual demolition process be scheduled a few months out so that my client has an opportunity to do this themselves. And if my request is denied, I would request the council provide us with an estimated timeline for demolition so I can tell my client. Thank you.
Okay. Do we have any public participation?
No.
No? Okay. I don't expect you want to rebut yourself then? No. Okay. We will move on to council questions and discussion, and then we will have a motion of some sort, and we will ask you questions as well as staff if it's appropriate, and that's where our interest is in getting clarification. Councilmember Sell, questions and comments for either staff or the representative from the finance company.
Question for Olivia. Are you saying that your client would find the property with the skeleton of the house on it?
Is your mic on?
My mic's on, yep.
Okay.
Would he find it more attractive for your client as the property sits now because of the skeleton of the house on there? You're saying that, or I think you're saying, that it would be easier for your client to purchase the property with the skeleton on it. It would be more attractive if the city demoed the house off of it and somebody could just easily, or more, it would be more attractive for somebody else to buy just the property without the home sitting on it.
Sure. To give you some reference, as I mentioned, there were a couple of other foreclosures, houses that we foreclosed on for them. My client was the successful purchaser at auction for $100, and they were able to get a demolition crew for about $5,000. I did speak with Miss Patty in the, I believe she was the code enforcement officer handling this file for the specific property, and she mentioned it would be about $7,000 to $8,000 to demo the property, and I understand it would be a lien on the property if the city council did end up doing the demo themselves. So it would save my client some money if they were able to do the demo themselves rather than the city. So that's the purpose of us asking to move the demolition date further so that my client can have time to obtain title to the property and do it themselves, and in essence save the city the headache of doing this themselves.
I'm sure in the 4 years that the skeleton of the home has been sitting there, the city has probably gotten quite a few calls to cut the grass, rats, maybe there's been some transients in there. I have to also have the responsibility of thinking about the neighbors. And, it's been 4 years, and now you're asking for more time. Yeah, that's all I got to say.
Councilmember Papalardo, questions or comments?
A couple of quick questions. City Manager, how long, refresh my memory, how long did it take from Three Amigos to be condemned until it was demolished?
Well, if depending on the price of the bids, we get 3 particular quotes. It can be down in a week, and depending on the vendor.
Okay.
The key issue here, since you asked a question, is obviously if we to take it down, if we wait to take it down and they don't take it down, their foreclosure will be superior to our liens, and then we would end up with the cost. If we demolish it before their foreclosure is judgmented, then our liens would be superior to theirs.
Thank you. Ms. Garcia, I appreciate your comments tonight. What I'm most concerned about is potential liability exposure if we were to extend demolition time, if we were admitting this is a condemned structure, is unsafe, and that entire list. Should something happen, if the city would befall any liability, I don't think we should tolerate that risk. And that's functionally where my decision's lying right now. Thank you.
Councilmember Stevenson?
Thank you. Can we go back to the slide that had the timeline on it real quick? Where it had the permit, it started in
We have
2019.
to bring it back up again.
There you go.
Thank you. And now, City Manager, would you repeat what you had explained to Councilmember Papalardo about the foreclosure and our lien if we were to delay versus go ahead and
Well,
condemn it?
typically when you get a judgment to foreclose, and it's based upon lien superiority. I've done these many years with the state. Theoretically, when they foreclose, we have liens that are total $1,080 on there. And so unless they expunge us from those particular foreclosures, they would need to pay those liens off. So, and again, there's no guarantee that they foreclose if they didn't take down the property, or even though they say they do. We would have to go through this particular process again to condemn the property, because just to say that we're going to foreclose and tear down the property for our option, there's no guarantee that will occur.
Okay, thank you.
Vice Mayor Butland?
Not going to go into too much more. The timeline bothers me, that you've had all this time, notices were returned, 45-day notice was posted, and now all of a sudden that we come into the picture, it seems like now activity is happening and you guys want us to extend that even more. I'm all like Councilmember Sell said, but it's about the safety, and I don't think this building is safe right now. Even if we have another rainy day, I mean, there's kids in the neighborhood. I drove by there. There's kids in the neighborhood. What they can do to it, what they can get hurt in, it's just not a safe place to be. So I'm going to recommend what we have on our records. Thank you.
I would say that Echo Homes has caused quite a burden on the city of DeBary. This is not the only Echo Homes project, and you were good to say they have homes over this wide. They had a concentrated number in DeBary, and we have lived with these eyesores and these dangerous structures in multiple sites for many years, and we have been tolerant. We have tried to work through some of the issues with the various properties. It has been a multi-year struggle. The neighbors of these properties have put up with eyesores, dangerous things next to their properties for years. And I understand about a title defect, which probably existed in 2019 when the last failed building inspection 4 years ago. And certainly your company was involved with Echo Homes and familiar with their situation and the multiple properties. I really want this dealt with personally, promptly, and I do think that delaying and putting the city's liens into a secondary position is not really a tenable position for us. In addition to the actual liens, we've had a lot of staff time, that we've had a lot of neighborhood issues that the city has put up with and our residents have put up with. And so stretching it out a couple of months so that your client might realize $2,000 to $3,000 in savings isn't really much to sway me. We've already paid in many ways beyond this, the 6 special assessment liens and any charges that would come from the most competitive of 3 bids to raise the property and end the risk to our community. So that is my concern at this point. We also, I think as one of the other council members has pointed out, we have a responsibility to our residents too. And so we have to protect their finances as well as their safety. And that is what is informing my decision, those facts as well as your evidence. I would entertain a motion unless there's further discussion.
I make a motion to approve the ordinance of condemnation of 239 Angeles Road, DeBary, Florida.
Second.
Vice Mayor Butlin?
Yes.
Councilmember Papalardo?
Yes.
Councilmember Sell?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevenson?
Yes.
And I am a yes. And I would ask city staff to give something of a timeline to Ms. Garcia as you have it available.
We'll get this expedited, and we'll keep them informed on exactly the costs and exactly the timeline it will occur.
Would you like my contact information?
Sure, please.
Is it reflected on this?
Yes, yes.
Excellent, then we have it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
The next item on our agenda is new business. The city manager is requesting the city council accept a proposal from Dale Beasley Construction and approve a work authorization to provide stormwater construction services for 32 Bonita Road Drainage Improvement Project.
Good evening, Mayor.
Good evening.
And Vice Mayor Butlin and City Council. My name is Kevin Hare, and my company is K. Hare Construction Services. The residents at 32 Bonita Road, Paul and Elizabeth Diodario, have long endured imminent flooding of their home and their septic system caused by stormwater runoff from Bonita Road and the surrounding drainage basin. The proposed drainage improvements would alleviate these longstanding concerns and really give them some peace of mind during tropical storms and hurricane season. Mr. Diodario is here with us tonight, and I've known Mr. Diodario now for about 5 years, and I have been in touch with him frequently, and I know that during hurricane season he has to place sandbags in front of his house. And he's rebuilt part of his driveway in order to try to divert the stormwater. And he's really had just long-standing issues with water threatening his home. Mr. Diodario and his wife have granted the city an easement in order to construct these improvements on their property. And I would also mention that their neighbor, Sharon Recupero, has also granted the city an easement to give us some additional access space. So, and some history on this. This project was identified in 2019. The 32 Bonita Road Drainage Improvement Project was prioritized for design, and Pegasus Engineering prepared construction drawings for the project, and they estimated the cost at $150,000. In 2021, we bid the project, advertised it, and put it out for bid, and the estimate, or the lowest bid received was $197,711.25. And that bid was not recommended to council because it was significantly more than the estimated cost. And this year, we rebid the project earlier this year, and the lowest bid received was $249,163.56. And again, that bid was not recommended to council. Based on those results and number of conversations with Mr. Diodario and also working with our city engineer, Richard Villasenor, we worked on how to redesign this project and how to reduce the scope and help to bring the cost down and make it feasible for the city to get this work done. So I've met with Mr. Diodario a number of times, and I've taken his input regarding the actual standing out there when it's really raining hard and seeing where the water actually concentrates and how we can best address this. Not to say that the Pegasus design was excessive, it just was more of a traditional design where you collect water at a number of different places and then get it into one one pipe to go to the lake. In this case, we feel as though it's appropriate in this case because the water tends to go to one location, and I can show you on the map. If you look at the aerial view, if you could go back to the aerial view, I don't know how well you can see this, but 32 Bonita Road is shown in the center, and then 30 Bonita Road is shown to the right. There's really a relatively small space between the two homes, but if you see where item number 4 is, where the number 4 is shown on the map, that's where we propose to put a stormwater inlet, right there. That is the lowest point where water tends to concentrate, to right that point between the two buildings. And then we would remove that white fence that you see and install a pipe from that inlet down to the lake. And having observed this water and then having had engineering design review it, we know that the water concentrates right to where where you see that is. So we really feel as though we can eliminate some of the additional inlets and impacts to the road. Basically, the additional cost had a lot to do with cutting the road, restoring the road, and we were looking at having to resurface a section of the street. And so by reducing the scope to just putting in this one fairly large inlet and put that pipe in, that is the key element of this design, basically, is to get the pipe to the lake. It's Bass Lake. So that's really where how we've reduced the scope and tried to make this work so that we can get it into a feasible format. Dale Beasley Construction is under a continuing contract with the City of Winter Garden, Florida for stormwater construction services. The City of Winter Garden contract is suitable for a work authorization from the City of DeBary, and we have a piggyback agreement with Dale Beasley Construction for other stormwater work at this time. The staff has negotiated with Dale Beasley Construction. We've worked with them on this reduced scope, and that is what we have before us tonight. The amount of the proposal is $71,891.04. So we were able to reduce the cost by quite a bit and make it actually what we feel is actually feasible at this time. My company, K. Hare Construction Services, task order number 12-2301, is attached for City Council approval as well. The purpose of the task order is to establish a budget to fund construction management and inspection services for the project and is proposed for an amount not to exceed $5,800. All of my work is based on an hourly basis approved by the city manager, and this kind of work is required to administer the contract and provide quality control services. Funding for the project is budgeted from the Stormwater Fund reserves. This project was not included in the FY24 budget because we had bid and the price was so high that we didn't think it was doable. But based on this pricing from Dale Beasley Construction, we feel it should be done now, so that is why it is presented to you from the Stormwater Fund reserves. With that said, it is recommended that City Council accept a proposal from Dale Beasley Construction in the amount of $71,891.04 and approve a work authorization for the construction of the 32 Bonita Road Drainage Improvement Project. Recommendation is also to include a contingency budget in the amount of 6% of the amount of the cost, or $4,313, to be included for a total budgeted amount of $76,204.04. Further recommended to approve work order 1223-01 to K. Hare Construction Services for construction management and inspection services related to the 32 Bonita Road Drainage Improvement Project for the amount of $5,800. Regarding implementation of the project, I've been working with Dale Beasley Construction, and they have said that they will require at least 30 to 60 days to have the structures manufactured. And then they feel that about approximately 10 days work days that actually do the whole project. So with that said, I would answer any questions you may have. And
Do we have any public participation?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Councilmember Sell, questions or comments?
This is a good story. Going from 150 grand on the budget to 197 to 249, and now it's $75,000 to get it done. I have a neighbor, doesn't live too far from me, who went over to her home when we had a lot of rain. She was just standing in the middle of her yard crying because of the flooding. And sometimes it doesn't take a hurricane anymore for the flooding. You get 5 days of rain, and I'm sure Mr. Dario is a wreck. Can't sleep at night, wondering, if this is going to be the storm that takes his home. So getting this done in maybe the next 3 months before the hurricane season is also a good story. I apologize that it's taken this long to get here today. I do. I still get phone calls from my neighbor when it rains a good amount, so I understand his pain as well. So all I can say is you did a wonderful job taking the shortcut, solving a problem, doing it for half of what it was originally budgeted for. Just amazing. To you and Mr. Beasley, I love it. That's an excellent outcome. Thank you.
Councilmember Papalardo.
I'm very impressed with the solution proposed here. Thank you for all the iterations you've put in and standing in the rain. And Mr. Diodario, thank you for your patience. So good news all around. Thank you.
Councilmember Stevenson.
Thank you. Are we still looking at the map on the screen? Good. So number 4 is where you said the inlet was going to be,
Yes.
correct? And in the original plan that Pegasus had, they had a second inlet. Would that have been more towards 3 or more towards number 2?
there was actually 3 more inlets, so 1, 2, and 3 would have been where inlets would have been. There would have been 2 on the far side of the road or the high side of the road, and then number 3 would have actually been on the low side. It's actually on this side of the road.
Yeah, we had the plan in our notes also. I was just trying to match it up with what you have. And so, let me see, what page am I on? 107 in the agenda was not included in the PowerPoint, but it has this whole red section here, which looks like it's basically underneath the road. That's the section that you've eliminated, and you've just focused on the area between the 2 houses, correct? There we go, yes, that one.
Yes. The section that you see that's circled in red was part of the original design, but that is what we've eliminated. So only the inlet that you see right at the
At number 3, right there.
Yeah.
It
The
goes
blue.
3, 2, and then towards the lake.
Yes.
And so it'll be that one inlet. So just to clarify, I think that this is good, and I hope that it's effective with just the one inlet. But if it turns out not to be enough, that there really is a lot more water coming from further up the road, Lot 25 area, can we expand and actually do that other part of the plan and have it connect into what we are currently planning to do?
Yes. It's not intended to be that, that's not the intent, but
No, I hope it's not the intention,
Yes.
but I mean, like sometimes when you're trying to move water, you're trying to, direct water in a certain way. This plan was taking into account whatever measurements they had at the time, the topography, things like that. And so this was their recommendation, which was a much wider scope of project. So what I'd like to see, that this small improvement with the inlet is enough. But my point is if it's not enough, we're not blocking our ability to expand the project in the way that it was originally designed.
no, it could be. We could add the system basically that's been eliminated at this point.
Okay, thank you. That clarifies what I needed to know.
Vice Mayor Butlin.
I hope you're seeing the end of the tunnel. I do appreciate your time and patience in this. I have been hearing stormwater for years, so I'm happy that we're working on this, and the solutions that we're coming up with are great. I know Richard spends a lot of time on all these projects, and good to have an in-house engineer to get it done and get it done efficiently and cheaper. So I appreciate all that, and I hope this all works and we get it underway. I have no problem with the rest of it.
I echo some of the sentiments that I'm glad that we have changed the scope and figured it out. I do not have a problem with using stormwater reserves in this fashion, because kicking the can down the road till we can budget it another year from now has its own risks. And that is what the reserve, in my view, is for. We don't want to operate the stormwater fund so tightly that any small bump in the road can't be accommodated. I'm not for depleting our reserves willy-nilly with this, that, and the other thing as we go. But to me, this is an appropriate way to deploy reserves and move us down that list of the medium to small projects that still remain on our stormwater list. I am reminded numerous times as I have discussions with other jurisdictions and other individuals who have been affected by flooding, either during major storms or even some heavy rainfall storms, that we have made good progress on that very lengthy list over all of these years. And I am glad that we are getting to these that have been deemed the smaller ones and have had to wait their turn in line because the major ones affecting more properties had to take priority. So to me, this is a good sign that we are moving down the list and finding an acceptable way to accelerate ones that might have still languished for another year or two. If there's no further discussion, I would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the proposal from Dale Beasley Construction in the amount of $71,891.04 and approve the work authorization for construction at 32 Bonita Drainage Improvement Project, including a contingency budget of 6% or $4,313 to be included for the total budgeted amount of $76,204.04, as well as including the approval of work order number 122301 to K-Hair Construction Enterprise LLC for construction management and inspection services as related to 32 Bonita Road Drainage Improvement Project for the amount of $5,800.
Second?
Councilmember Stevenson?
Yes.
Councilmember Sell?
Yes.
Councilmember Papalardo?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Butlin?
Yes.
And I am a yes. The matter has been approved.
Thank you.
The next item, you are more than welcome. I'm sorry it took so long, but at least we're moving it ahead. The next item on our agenda is number 6. The city manager is requesting the city council accept this statement certifying the conditions and circumstances requiring the rental of pumps during the 2023 hurricane season.
Thank you, Mayor. As you know, we have certain vulnerabilities in our emergency stormwater system, where every year we have to rent a specific number of temporary pumps, and most of the time when we have emergency declaration of emergency, we can go ahead and move forward. I have the authority to go ahead and purchase rental of these particular pumps to move water. Typically, we use a 12-inch pump at James Pond, and we didn't need this until actually in November, that we had to actually have a 12-inch pump at James Pond to move it. But during the season, we have obviously when Hurricane Idalia came by, we had to do preparatory work. Temporary pumps are at a premium in that every city is looking for temporary pumps, and we have to secure those. And even though Hurricane Idalia didn't hit us, we rented those particular pumps in preparation. We always take a a viewpoint of being proactive in our stormwater. Obviously, we hold the flooding of property in the highest regard. We always will be prepared and never have what we call our pants down because we weren't prepared. So we'll always rent pumps in advance, regardless in hurricane season as hurricanes approach. You approved a couple of meetings ago the pump rentals for October. In this particular incident, we did rent some more pumps in November. I don't know if you know or not, but the St. Johns River is at flood stage. And many folks don't know that the St. Johns River starts, their basin is 2,200 square miles. It goes from Sanford to Cocoa to Melbourne, and that whole area out there on Highway 46 going to Mims is all of the St. Johns River basin. And when you get 10 or 12 inches of rain, that basin gets 10 or 12, all that water will accumulate, and it narrows down through Lake Monroe into the St. Johns River. Right now, the river's up about 4 to 5 feet. It impacts our community. A lot of our lakes are water table lakes, and the water tends to go horizontal. We've had 2 rain events in November. One pretty significant. I think we received about 7 or 8 inches of rain over a 48-hour period. And the water not only fills the particular lakes, but then you have a period about 2 weeks where the water goes horizontal into these particular lakes, and it continues. So we rented the pumps for James Pond. We also are having some difficulty with our DeBerry Plantation pumps. We have one was completely rebuilt, and the second one failed. So we were operating DeBerry Plantation with 1 pump, and so we decided to rent a second 8-inch pump to make sure that we had 2 pumps there at DeBerry Plantation. That's one of our most critical stations. Unfortunately, the second pump went. We didn't have any pumps there on Monday, the week of Thanksgiving. So we ordered that 8-inch pump again to continue to manage the level of lake. The second pump was rebuilt and has been installed, and we are now looking at really the durability of these particular pumps. We tried to rebuild those. They are 15 years old. They've been built in about 2008. We are having a meeting tomorrow with some experts on what should be our best course of action going forward. We do have a proposal from Hydro Services, which is one of our vendors, to possibly replace those pumps since they're 15 years old and not take any chances, and let's put 2 new ones in there. So we are analyzing our entire pump situation at DeBerry Plantation. But this particular agenda item is I have to make decisions immediately on water when we get rain. Sometimes I can't wait until council meetings to get your approval to expend the money. And the pump rentals are typically after the fact. And so we're bringing this to you to approve these particular expenditures and certify these conditions and circumstances that you understand that we have to rent these particular pumps in short order to protect our residents from flooding, and that should be our highest priority. And I take that seriously, and unless you say otherwise, I will always take a proactive position. I will rent pumps to make sure that we are ahead of the game and that we'll never be caught with our pants down because of a rain event that we didn't anticipate. So Mayor and Council, I'll ask for you to accept this statement and certifying the conditions and circumstances requiring the rental of pumps and approve the after-effect purchasing of the rentals of these particular pumps for our stormwater system.
Thank you. Do we have any public participation?
No, ma'am.
All right. Councilmember Sell, any questions or comments?
I would love to live to see the day where we don't talk about rental pumps. That's all.
Councilmember Pappalardo.
No comments.
Councilmember Stevenson.
Echoing Councilmember Sell, I would also look forward to the day when we don't have rental pumps. But I'm also glad that we have sufficient money in our budget in the stormwater to cover these rentals, and I do think that it's appropriate to rent them. I would like for us to keep moving forward with, as you said, assessing the pumps in DeBerry Plantation for replacement, given their age, so that we can have more permanent pump stations and not have so many rental pumps. Thank you.
Well, and Mayor, just in the budget this year is the pump station for James Pond. We're getting pretty close to getting 90% plans and getting that permitted by the St. John's Water Management District. So we're hoping that this project gets moved forward and we get a quick response from the St. John's Water Management District. That will definitely alleviate a 12-inch pump. We will never, just like Woodbound, we don't rent pumps anymore for Woodbound, and we won't rent any more pumps for James Pond. So
I agree. We've made a lot of progress on these projects and our stormwater as a city, so I'm glad we came out unscathed with that rain event.
Vice Mayor Butlin?
It's not just you. It is great that we're progressing on this. My one question is, have we assessed all the other pumps, the older ones? Are they all working?
they're all, well, the one at DeBerry Plantation obviously is our only one that's not
broken. Okay,
particularly
that's just
working
not
yet.
working. Okay.
Yeah, the Woodbound ones are fine. Really, all the other ones, Lake Susan, all of them are working. So, and the one at Quail Lake is working. So, yeah, we assess them all the time. We test them on a weekly basis. Unfortunately, the one at DeBerry Plantation is a little frustrating, but we'll get to the bottom of that and we'll be ready, prepared before hurricane season.
Okay. I have nothing. I'm good.
Right. I have nothing to add to that. I would entertain a motion if there's no further discussion.
Move to accept this statement certifying the conditions and circumstances requiring the rental of pumps during the 2023 hurricane season.
Second.
Councilmember Stevenson?
Yes.
Councilmember Papalardo?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Butlin?
Yes.
Councilmember Sell?
Yes.
I can't hear it if it's
And
not
I am a
done.
yes. I just judged that he was the one who seconded it this time, but I let you
That's
be
okay.
third.
That's all right.
The next item on our agenda is the city manager is requesting the city council approve granting the authority to the city manager under the legal guidance of the city attorney to either execute the proposed extension of a contract relating to a purchase, I'm adding words in here, until February 1, 2024, with the negotiated non-refundable deposit amount and/or to close on the property. This property is the property on Palm Drive, waiving the required contingencies and distributing the purchase price funds. Yes, the identification of the property was not in the agenda item, but we have added it in.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll ask Kurt, our city attorney, to jump in when necessary, but I'll try to explain all the circumstances. This is a very fluid situation. Obviously, we entered this contract on May 3rd, 2023. Just to give you some background for those who may not have attended that particular meeting, the Palm Drive property is in yellow on the left-hand side. It is approximately 24.21 acres, and it's also adjacent to I-4 as well. And then the property, the 2.17 acres, is the property on 1792 at Fort Florida Road. This particular property has been in the works for the last 4 or 5 years with Volusia County, trying to exchange this particular property with other conservation land. They've been, one of the requirements for this particular subdivision to prevent the U-turns on 1792 from the subdivision is to connect this subdivision to Fort Florida Road and to 1792, so that you won't have the entire subdivision making U-turns on 1792. And so we put a package together of 5 different parties, both for not only for the conservation, the 2.17 acres to try to connect to the 1792, but also to purchase this Palm Drive property and to the contribution from the DeBerry Town Center of $390,000 will help us purchase this particular property. So we put this package together. The city of DeBerry is the purchaser. The Now organization is the property owner and seller. DeBerry Town Center owns the 2-acre, 0.17 acre exchange down there by Fort Florida Road, in the corner of Fort Florida Road. And the St. John's Water Management District obviously is the overseer of this particular process for the conservation easement. And then, of course, FDOT, which is way in the future, is planning an I-4 retention pond, about 4 acres on the very northern side of this Palm Drive property. So, yes, we have 5 partners in this. It's a good deal. So the land purchase, the city of DeBerry, is between us and Now, 24.21 acres. Purchase price $975,000. The closing date is December 15th, 2023. So we have about 9 more days. And there were some contingencies tied to this particular contract. One of the contingencies, just to refresh everybody's memory, is Volusia County is going to approve the transfer of the 2.17 acres. They own that particular property. And that's scheduled to be on their agenda this month to go ahead and transfer the property to DeBerry Town Center, LLC. And so we expect that to be on there. It also requires DeBerry Town Center to pay the city $390,000 towards the purchase of the Palm Drive property. And it also requires the city and the DeBerry Town Center, LLC, to do an exchange agreement, which has already been done, and it's already been approved by City Council. So we anticipate Volusia County approving that. We had no objections to that whatsoever. And we anticipate once that gets approved and St. John's Water Management District approves the conservation easement, that the city will be able to collect $390,000. Or else the conservation easement will not transfer from the 2.17 acres to the 20 acres on Palm Drive. He's going to have to pay that money in order to transfer that conservation easement from the 2.17 acres to the Palm Drive property. The other condition, obviously, is St. John's Water Management District Board approves the conservation easement transfer. Of the agreement on Palm Drive is done. The language we've got there, they've approved the new legal descriptions. I'll get into some of the issues we have between the previous owner, the Now organization, where there's donated property. There's been some legal discrepancies, and I'll go into those a little bit. Then the removal for the conservation easement from the 2 acres of the junction, and then apply that to the 20 acres on Palm Drive. And so that is planned to go to St. John's Water Management District Board in January. They want to take it all together in one package, whether we have the purchase of Palm Drive or the extension, Volusia County approving the transfer, the conservation easement agreement being approved, and the transfer being approved. And so all that will go in one package to the St. John's Water Management District Board in January, and they're scheduling that for January. So the remaining process, to try to simplify it here a little bit, is we either got to close on the property by December the 15th, or we have to extend it, the closing to February 1st, 2024. The proposal for extension has been made to the Now organization to extend it to February 1st, 2024. They want a non-refundable deposit, which will be applied to the purchase price. And so whatever that might be, if it's 20, we offered 20,000 was the offer. If they require a little bit more, it's still going to go to the purchase price. We got the money budgeted. So I'm asking in your approval just to go ahead, whether it's 20 or 30, whatever the final amount is, to go ahead and authorize me to go ahead, and the city attorney to oversight to when they close to distribute that particular money, whatever the deposit is negotiated. It's very fluid because it needs to happen within the next 9 days if we're going to extend. The other issue, obviously, is the deed corrections. The Clayton family that owned this particular property a long time ago, Mr. Charles Clayton passed away. His heirs, there was trusts involved in his heirs. They donated this property to the Now organization. Unfortunately, when the deeds were done, there were some typos in the legal descriptions. And so when everybody tried to put the legal description together, there's gaps in the boundaries. One area is 6 foot. Another area I think might be 100 feet because they mistransposed one of the numbers in the deed. And so those are being corrected, and so we're having to reach out to the Clayton family to sign off on those deeds to correct them. And so we think we got one of the two deeds that have been corrected. We've got one more to go. There's not a dispute as far as ownership is concerned. We know that the Now organization owns it. It's just these little areas of legal description from the former deeds. However, as we've gone through our surveyors and they've gone through legal descriptions, you'll see in your packet here, let me see if I put it in here. I did not. In your packet there, you'll see a green stamp on your exhibits where the St. John's Water Management District has now approved the legal descriptions, the way the new ones that will be. And so thankfully, they have approved the legal descriptions. And so now we're going to wait for Volusia County to approve the transfer of the 2.17 acres, and then we'll wait for the St. John's Water Management District to approve the conservation easement transfer on January 2024, subject to the land purchase. So what we're asking for is to grant the city manager the authority to close on the property with the guidance of the city attorney, obviously, and waive the contingency for closing. That means you're going to waive the requirement for Volusia County to do the transfer and the St. John's Water Management District to approve the conservation easement. Those are the contingencies and conditions in order for us to close. So we're asking you to waive those so that we can go ahead and close. They're already in process, they're well down the line, and we feel very confident that those contingencies will be achieved by January 2024. And then authorize me to distribute the purchase funds on the closing of the property, obviously. And/or authorize the city manager to execute the proposed extension, whatever that final agreement will be. Kurt Arteman and his firm there are working on that final agreement there, just in case the title insurance. And the whole issue with the particular issue with the legal descriptions is that the title insurance company will issue insurance, but will provide an exception to those little boundaries that exists. If anything comes up in the future with those little boundaries, then obviously they won't cover the title insurance on those two little small boundaries. However, we do have a final legal description that has been done, a new legal description, and it's been approved by St. John's Water Management District. So we do have a new legal description. We just have to fix the legal descriptions from the old deeds. And maybe Kurt can fill in the gaps with that. And so I ask you to give me authority to go ahead and extend. Usually on these contracts, I have the authority to extend, but this one is going to require an additional deposit in order for them to extend. The Now organization really has a desire to close before the end of the year. So do we. And we're hoping within the next 9 days to be able to resolve all these small issues, get the title insurance fully covered, close on the property by December 15th. If not, we're going to work diligently to get this a particular extension. Now, there may be a possibility that it may be in our best interest if we don't get a full clear, the deed fully done, is maybe to go ahead and close on the property with partial, title insurance. This particular property, as we've all discussed, is a standalone commercial property. It is 24 acres. As you know, in Live Local, our high density is 32 units an acre, and they have the right to build up to 600 or more apartments on this particular property. And so I think it's in our best interest to do whatever we can to protect our interests. If we do purchase the property with some minor glitches in the title insurance, those legal descriptions that we now have, I think, cures us enough to where we feel comfortable about purchasing the property. And I'll give Kurt some time to fill in the gaps where I might have missed.
Carmen, I just have to say, Council, I'm very disappointed that he's brought this simple deal to us. We're looking for some more challenging, confusing deals so we can really get our teeth and fingernails into it. No, he did a very good job about a very complicated scenario. I don't think he left out anything. So we wanted to close, and we're not comfortable with the way things were, that the seller could not or had not solved the problems by at least as of today or yesterday, had not solved it to be able to close comfortably by the 15th. But we understand the seller may be willing to extend if we need to. If we can solve the problems, or the seller and we can solve the problems before the 15th, we'll close. If not, we want the right to be able to extend, which would give up, we would lose some of that, the deposit money that would go non-refundable to the city in order to get that extension. Carmen's proposed $20,000. My thought is it's worth it, because when we do close one way or the other in January, it's going to be credited to the purchase price, so should be no loss to the city. Anyway, if you have any questions, Carmen's here to answer those questions.
Do we have any public comment?
No, ma'am, we do not.
Okay, Councilmember Sell, questions or comments?
My mom used to make the best vegetable soup. She never wrote down the recipe. She never knew what went in it, but it always turned out great. I learned tonight, and I know from previous weeks when we talked about this deal, that it had many moving parts. I do realize tonight that I would never play Monopoly with Carmen, ever. Never, ever. You would never win. I'm sure he has never lost a game of Monopoly.
We gotta play.
Oh, yeah, we do.
Fortunately, I think most of us up here know what was all involved in this deal, thank God, because listening to you tonight, you did not make it any simpler. I know this is like the most amazing thing. I know some city attorneys don't work that hard, and some work really hard. If you guys figure this out and boil it down and get it done, it is a really good deal for the city of DeBary, which I love this deal. It prevents some more trees being torn down for houses or businesses. So yeah, I love this. I don't think anyone in the audience could keep up with all that, but fortunately, I do know what you're trying to do, so it is a good thing. So thanks.
Councilmember Papalardo.
Thank you. So I was going through Section 7A, that's the 6 contingencies, and I'm very satisfied with the majority of the progress on almost all of those, except for the, I guess, would it be number 5? It has to do with the actual legal definitions, right? So that's the only contingency I'm concerned about, because I think there's enough skin in the game for most of the other parties that most of these are going to close in the near future, if not, immediately. So, City Attorney, the question I have regarding this is, how big is the scale of the risk if the legal descriptions and the property lines are inaccurate post-close?
Yeah, that's the substantive discussion that the city manager and one of the other attorneys in my office and the title insurance, we've all had that discussion. The problem is that the legal description does not close, and some of those, well, I guess we resolved that. It's a time, at this point, that one, that's not the issue. The real issue is the Clayton deed.
Okay.
Because if we get the Clayton deed, which apparently we've got one, we've got another we've got to get, should not be a problem. If that does not happen and we close and the person or the people are not willing, we can file a quiet title suit to resolve that problem. Okay. We don't expect it's going to be, even if we had to do that, which we do not expect to have to do, it should not be that expensive, but it would cost the city more money to have to do that. Now, one of the things we're going to ask for from Now Matters More, the seller, is what's called a further assurances agreement, so that upon closing, assuming we close and there's still a defect or defects, that they would have to step up and work with us to help close it. Doesn't mean they're going to have to pay a bunch of money to solve that. We probably would have to pay that. But given that, it's probably worth it. I mean, we will want to hone that analysis before we tell Carmen, if you give him authority to do that, say, we wouldn't do that, Carmen, or, yeah, it's a risk, are you willing, and we'll lay that out. So right now, we don't think the risk is that great. It's actually been narrowed quite a bit with the problems we've had. We still have some, and it's hard to quantify exactly what that is, but based on everything we know right now, not that big.
Okay. So I'm motivated to see this closed timely. I would not, if if it came to the point that we were trying to create good faith activity, to strike all except for that particular contingency, I would be happy with moving forward in that arrangement. Just if you're not seeking consensus, I'm just throwing my thoughts out
Yeah,
there. so.
and again, the issue is not with ownership. We feel very confident that the Now organization, it's just these old,
Typo.
these old deeds, some of the typo in the legal description and the old deeds, those don't close. We do have, in your packet there, you do have this green stamp where St. John's Water Management, we redid the legal descriptions. St. John's has approved them and that they do close. It's just that we want to make sure that the old deeds
Okay.
get corrected, so there's no question for the title insurance company there.
I'm satisfied, thank you.
Yeah, it's just,
Councilmember Stevenson?
So basically, it sounds like there is 99% of everything finished, and you most likely could close in time. But if this one little deed, paperwork, typo thing doesn't get cleared, we are not wanting to lose this opportunity for conservation.
well, you want to close, and Kurt will tell you want to close with full title insurance. You know, and if there's a question on a 6-foot gap, what kind of lawsuit would that create? I don't know. A 6-foot gap, really? I mean, come on. It's not that big of a deal, but, yeah, you just don't, you just want everything to be clean. You want it to be, you know, perfect, so.
If we were going to build a new city hall on it, probably be a different issue.
Right.
But it's for conservation and drainage.
Conservation and drainage. So on your slideshow here, you're saying one or the other, or do you want us to do and/or the other?
And/or, give us the option to do both.
Well, I
They
guess.
need
the
to
option
make
to
a
do one or
last-minute
the other.
call,
Not
and
both.
we aren't going to reconvene to help them with
Correct.
that decision.
Yeah,
One or the other. Yeah, we'll do one
Yeah.
or the other.
Just pick one.
Yeah,
but give you the option for
Yes.
both, because
Yes.
that's where we're at
Correct.
right now.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah.
We would love to close by December 15th, and we hope this gets resolved by December 15th, and we'll close, and this will be done. This portion will be done, or, you know, we're going to have to extend.
Sounds
Okay.
good. Thank you.
Vice Mayor Butland.
I'm not going to belabor any more comments. I think getting this done and getting it done right is the most important thing. But I'm anxious to get it done as early as possible. This is our future. It's a ripple effect of what's going to happen later on, so especially down at the Main Street area. So I'm excited about this, to get it done, and whatever we need to do to get it done quicker is what we got to do.
And just one more comment. This piece of property, as we start analyzing the I-4 expansion, our drainage down I-4, even the property we purchased from Mr. Carlson down the street on Dirksen Drive is a very important piece of property, because when they expand the 10 lanes, those two pieces of property are going to secure our future regarding stormwater. And so these are going to be, these are two critical purchases, and you made very good choices.
What I would like to say is just to sort of perhaps simplify this. This property, and I'm mainly speaking to those who may listen to this online, this property came before us about a year or so ago with a proposal to build a whole bunch of townhouses on it. It's zoned commercial, and it has major wetlands spread throughout it. And it receives already stormwater from neighborhoods that we have done stormwater improvement projects on, and that water flows through this property. And this council turned down the townhouse development. Many concerns. Inappropriate location was a general feeling. I know I was concerned about filling in wetlands that we need for water management, and we can't just go around, in my view, filling in all the wetlands to put stuff on top of them. Even when we mitigate somewhere, 15 miles away, that doesn't really help DeBary. So it was sometime after that that I said to the city manager, I don't want to ever see another proposal for the development of this property. And the way that we may be able to get around that is if the city buys it, and I don't even care that we do stuff with it, we just need it to continue to exist for its wetlands, its vegetation, its stormwater management. We know that at some point FDOT wants to put a retention pond on one end of it. So from that idea, the city manager found multiple ways to make this into a very multifaceted deal which serves the city and its residents in many, many ways. And one of those was described here, but if you were watching, you probably didn't pick up on the whole thing. There's 2 acres to make Fort Florida and 1792 a 4-way intersection. There's a conservation easement on those acres. It needs to be removed. They're not particularly special conservation acres. They're part of a much larger parcel. It's not like they're full of wetlands. They are just part of a large conservation parcel. So we are for the city of DeBary, 2 acres would be released from conservation, and in exchange, 20 acres would be put under conservation with this project. And we had ARPA money at the time that we could use for the part that we would not be reimbursed right away. So we have the $900 and some thousand purchase price. We have almost $400,000 coming in with exchanging the 2 acres of conservation and putting 20 of the 24 acres under conservation for just under $400,000. So that reduces the city's expenditure to $500,000 perhaps. And then eventually if FDOT wants to put in that retention pond, there'll be money from FDOT, maybe as much as the $500,000, but certainly offset the cost. So to the city of DeBary, the cost for this property in the end will be fairly low. We are using federal dollars to buy it. We preserve the wetlands. We don't see any development on it. And we have stormwater management benefits for the city. And we get more conservation land in DeBary than we had at the beginning of this process. That is why there were some references to how this is a beautiful deal that is convoluted but brings many benefits to the residents of DeBary. I still feel that we need to buy this property. I think I said to the city manager, come hell or high water. Subsequent to this, after we had Live Local enacted, there was a day when the light bulb went on and I looked at him and I said, do you realize that that property, if we weren't the contract owners already, that property could have apartments built on it and we could not have any control over it so long as they did their stormwater ponds and their setbacks and all of that. If we didn't want townhouses on it, we for sure do not want apartment houses on it. It's just not the right place, and it destroys natural land that we need for many purposes for the good of all of our residents. So I am strongly supportive of you being able to make your choice up to the very last minute, because even in a worst case scenario, if we had a gap and a missing part of title insurance, which I'm not encouraging you to pursue, we intend this property never to be developed. We foresee no time in the future when we would be trying to convey ownership to someone else where we would have to make them whole on this title defect should it still persist when we buy the property. We're not marketing this property at any time in the decades to come that I can foresee. So to your question about risk, Councilmember Papalardo, there is a very small risk. If it was a residential property like you and I own and we were planning on reselling it once the kids were grown or whatever the case is, I would be really, really worried about making sure there were no gaps. I really want our team to continue their good work in closing off these gaps. But at the end of the day, we're not buying this to flip it sometime. And we want it to stay the way it is. And that's what this whole deal does. It's going to stay the way it is with the possible exception of getting a retention pond on the 4 acres that are not going to be under conservation easement. So, good work, everyone, legal, city staff. Keep it up. Bring this property home sometime between now and February 1.
Yes, ma'am.
I would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve authority to close on property, waiving contingencies for closing in process, distributing purchase price funds, or authorize the city manager to execute the proposed extension to 2/1/2024, giving the city manager to pay negotiated deposits and purchase price in the FY 2023 budget.
Second.
Vice Mayor Butland?
Yes.
Councilmember Papalardo?
Yes.
Councilmember Sell?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevenson?
I'm sorry, just real quick, are we fine with the just or, not an and/or on that motion?
You're not going to do both.
You're not going to do both.
do or, yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you. Yes.
Yes, and I am a yes. Bring her home.
Yeah.
We will.
Confidence.
This ends our formal agenda, and now we move into member reports. Council members?
We have a committee.
We got some advisory
Committee?
board.
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed that line. We have a Hometown Heroes Recognition Program Committee appointments. I am so sorry.
Mayor, we have 2 appointees that we are required for the Hometown Heroes Committee. We have 2 applicants, Gail Kohler and, and Jean Votberg. And so we're asking for the city council to approve these 2 individuals for the Hometown Heroes Committee.
Thank you. Is there any public participation or input?
No, ma'am, there is not.
Okay, Councilmember Sell?
I'm not sure about Gail. She's only lived here 38 years.
Oh, we were looking for 40, right?
Between Gail and Jean, that's 62 years.
There you go.
Living in DeBary. I personally know Jean, and yeah, this is great. I mean, this is awesome. Nothing else.
Councilmember Papalardo?
Councilmember Sell said it all.
Councilmember Stevenson?
No questions or comments?
Vice Mayor Butland?
I'm just glad that everyone's starting to step up to the plate. This is great to have new people
It
that we
is.
haven't had for, to do these. So this is good. I'm all for it.
And I echo the comments of the others here on the dais. Are there any comments that you would like to make, Christina?
First of all, I want to thank you for stepping up. Thank you.
Come to the microphone.
There's a microphone there.
I think I'm loud enough, but okay. Well, good evening, Mayor Chasse, Vice Mayor Butland, council members, and Carmen Rosamunda, thank you so much. I'm here and I'm excited for this because, as I said when I first took this on, this is not only going to be a program that's going to grow here in DeBary. You can see from that last meeting that it is well received, and it is an expectation since its inaugural year that this is just going to grow. And since that day, I have received many calls about this program and people just wanting to step up and bring their loved ones. They're asking for different criteria, and that's going to be the reason why we have the committee, because they're going to make sure that they have the formal process for the application as well as the selection, and moving forward what this is going to look like when Main Street opens up and we can honor more of our military members. I am so happy for her excitement when she came in and they told me that she was here for another committee. And when they told me that she was for this one, I was uber excited because just a few minutes that I had in exchange with her, I knew that her heart was in this program. This is going to grow. You have no idea you're touching this veteran's heart right now. Thank you so much for this. We're not going to let you down, and the next one's even going to be bigger.
Thank you so much.
Oh, turn it off, yes.
Okay, so this would be a matter of consensus, I believe, or we don't need to do a formal vote
Do we need?
to appoint members to the commission? Or-
Either way, you can do
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the
Okay.
2
That's fine.
to Gail and Jean to go on the committee.
Second.
Vice Mayor Butland?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevenson?
Yes.
Councilmember Papalardo? Councilmember Sell?
Yes.
And I am a yes. Welcome to the committee. Thank you for stepping up. Now we will move to member reports. Councilmember Sell.
As usual, I attended the chili cook-off. As usual, I did not win. But there was 14 teams, one didn't show up, so technically 14 teams. This year, a vegan chili finished in second, which
place.
is impressive. Really impressive. And they were also first time entering the
Entrance.
chili contest.
Yeah.
So that was also amazing. The mural at Gateway is absolutely stunning. I mean, that just adds to the building. Terry did a wonderful job. Our Parks and Rec department, who I always forget to thank while I'm on the stage for the tree lighting, hit an absolute home run out of the park. I mean, I pulled in at around noontime. All of them were sweating already because they were getting everything out and put together. They did an amazing, amazing job. Jason and his crew, my hat's off to you guys. That's a lot of stuff to do in a day, and they knocked it out. I got to go inside to the Gateway, get a little air conditioning, and amazing in there. Santa Claus and all the pictures and all the crafts. I saw T-shirts from people. They did a scavenger hunt, and they got T-shirts. We got pizza afterwards, and then 3 of the kids were with us. They had the T-shirts from that, and they were just talking about how much fun they had. And they were all different ages. So, as usual, it was absolutely amazing. I thought it was another great event. I'm already looking towards next year to do it again. So,
Are you going vegan with your chili?
No, I couldn't go vegan. No.
Okay.
Yeah. But anyway, thank you again to the Parks and Rec. It was excellent.
Councilmember Papalardo.
I also attended tree lighting. It was amazing. Great work, Jason and staff. Sherry, your team designed some great swag, T-shirts and the keychains. That Clayton wearing T-shirts and stuff is the best. The chili cook-off was good. A lot of it was gone by the time I was there, and there's a lot of bean-based or white ones, and not my favorite. But everything was so well done, very impressive. It always puts on a very great face for the city because it's just done so professionally. The shuttles, easy to forget about, well done, easy to execute. It's not a great walk going back because it's so dark by the time everything's over, but safely done. Great presence of public safety and everything. So amazing work, everybody. And I know it's early, but the Barry's already buzzing with Christmas spirit. So Merry Christmas, everybody, and I'll say it again next time.
Councilmember Stevenson.
Thank you. I also had a great experience at the chili cook-off and tree lighting. Great to see so many competitors out there. Great to see the kids playing on the park. It felt like this was our biggest crowd, at least in recent years, since we've changed locations. So really glad to have that. The smaller buses did take a little bit longer to go back. So I don't know if with our attendance increasing, if a bigger bus, again, might be quicker and easier for more people, especially at the end of the event when everybody's ready to go. I had to wait like 3 times for a bus to be available. But the Winter Walk of Lights continues, even if people didn't see the tree lighting. They have up until December 17th to go see the Walk of Lights that are in Gateway. Monday through Thursday at 6 p.m. to 8 p.m., Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. So make sure everybody checks that out. It's another great display, some original things that are new that weren't there last year. So great job again to Parks and Rec for putting it all together. And I saw the sheriff out there watching it, making sure nobody was visiting after hours.
Vice Mayor Butland.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I'll start with that. I'll work my way backwards because I did a lot. The tree lighting I just thought was amazing. I was monitoring the line for the chili cook-off, helping them out. Our staff is a hoot. They all come around. You need help? No? Okay. And they just turn around and walk away. and it was great. They're very into it. So the mural at the Gateway was great. The activities that the kids had this year that we hadn't had, the snow was wonderful. There was stuff that was added for the 30th, the scavenger hunt, so all that was great. Thank you, Casey and the communications department for doing that. So it was great, the mural, everything else. And all the chili was good in its own way. Whether you liked one or not, they were all so very good. It was hard to judge. I did do a chat with the chair, with Jeff Brower, and got some things discussed with him. I also attended a legislative conference. I'm on a committee for utilities, natural resources, and public works, which we're working on a stormwater policy for the Florida League of Cities. I did hobnobbing with Cobb Cole Friday night at their celebration Christmas thing. And the 2 ribbon cuttings I did this week was Katie's Upscale Treasures, as well as Jazz and Spa over in, both in DeBary, but one on Enterprise. So I want to say congratulations to the Finance Department in your award. Aliana in our Communications Department won the iLatina Award for Creative Art. And Patty, if you don't know, our Code Enforcement Officer, won the Code Enforcement Officer and earned the highest level of certification for Code Enforcement Officers in the state of Florida. I stopped by your office to congratulate her, and I said, so what did you do? She did a 15-page thesis on Amigos.
Wow.
It was part of her class, and she had to do that, and she's number 80 out of 250 in the country. So what an accomplishment for our staff, and I'm just very proud of every single one of them. Know everyone that you do, all that you do, and everyone that's there. I think I got it all. I'm done.
Okay. Well, I would join you in the congratulations to all the various staff members for their recent recognitions. I'm proud of them all, just as you've mentioned, we have a great staff. I did attend the chat with the county chair at Gateway Center. Citizens' remarks there centered on Live Local concerns, and the chair had mentioned during the evening that in other events he's had across the county, flooding and overdevelopment were the main concerns raised. We reviewed the many strategies deployed to address flooding in DeBary over all of these years, long before the most recent hurricanes. And the chair also expressed appreciation for the Live Local concerns. But again, this sort of pointed out that that all of the hard work, and we had more of it this evening, working towards solving our issues related to stormwater, we really have made progress over the years. And in the event of a crisis when other people are flooding is not the time to note that. But we're distant enough now that we can say, you know, spending the money and the time has alleviated many of the stormwater flooding issues in our city. And as a result, our residents are more engaged in other kinds of issues, like they have stepped up to be concerned about repercussions for Live Local in our city. And that was what most of the DeBary residents brought as questions. We did have a property owner from over near Ormond that came all the way to DeBary to talk to the chair about flooding in his area. It was a countywide, it's an open meeting for county residents. We also had, I think someone from Port Orange and someone from another East Side city came over to talk with the chair as well. From Flagler, yeah. So it was, we had DeBary residents who were engaged in the discussion, and most of the focus was the repercussions of Live Local for local communities. I also was there for the ribbon cutting on Jazz and Day Spa. That's over on Enterprise, not far from Goodfellows, if you're familiar with that shopping center and the realty company there. I attended TPO this morning, which I mentioned when we had John's good report on most of the issues that came to the board this morning and were passed. In addition, this afternoon, I met with the school superintendent, Carmen Balgobin. She had a community chat in Deltona at El Coqui Bakery, and it had invited me to attend, and the city manager went with me as well. And we have had a good bit of communication with her. Many of our residents over time have said, we have new residents coming, but where are schools? And the school system is beginning to step up and consider what it is they're going to do with covering the schooling needs of the increasing number of children. And DeBary is one of those areas that has a significant increase. Our DeBary Elementary is something like 117% of capacity. We send a lot of our children to other schools like Enterprise Elementary. So the school board is doing some redistricting. You may have seen this in the newspaper. There was an article this morning. About 900 and some students countywide are being proposed for moving from one school to another to even out those that are under capacity and give some relief to those that are over capacity. But here in DeBary, there has not been a new school built for 26 years. So it is encouraging to see the school board engaging, and the superintendent has been very supportive of trying to see how DeBary's school needs can be met. So that's my report. City manager?
I got a laundry list, Mayor, sorry. Want to let you know, after about 18 months worth of fighting, we finally got some lights on Fort Florida Road, finally. But we'll have to make one adjustment, I think, to one of the lights there, but it's a good start just to get some lighting on that particular road. The turning lane on Highway 1792 at High Banks there, we got a couple calls. It's not stopped. You have to wait till the asphalt cures for 30 days before you can paint it, and then it will be opened the way they lengthen the turn lane there. I do want to give you some dates. We're now focusing on our grand opening for our Main Street the week of February the 5th. We're kind of focusing on February the 9th as the actual day, which is a Friday morning. So stay tuned with that. Sorry for the delay with that, but there was a little wrench at the last minute regarding the town park closing. On December the 19th, we have notified and beginning to notify and have notified all our building permit the permits that are in process and folks that are typical, have a lot of inspections. We're not going to be doing any inspections on December the 19th. The reason being is that all of our building officials and all our inspectors will be in training because we've got new Florida building codes coming in effect January 1. And so we've notified everybody there will be no inspections on December 19th because they will all be over there. It's an 6 to 8 hour course to update them on all the changes that are being made at the Florida Building Code. And so it's a requirement. It's got to happen. And so we send emails. We have signs up and everything else. And fortunately, that December 19th will be no inspections. Mayor, I am going to expound a little bit more on the school board. If you don't know, it's now public. The school board has on their agenda next week to purchase 48 acres in the south side of DeBary. It is, it's on their agenda to be considered next week. I believe it's December the 12th. And the 48 acres is just south of the Clayton property. That's the best way I can identify it. It's called the Allen property. And the Allen property is 48 acres. It's on the south edge, adjacent to the Clayton junkyard.
But it also extends behind that property.
Yep. And so we're really excited about that. That's something we worked really hard in assisting them in coordination with that. And so yes, I told the superintendent that we're going to increase our schools by 50%. I should have said 100%, but we are doubling our schools, and what they're planning on is I think an elementary school, a K through 8 school, and so we're pretty excited about that, and we hope for an approval on that next week. Live local. As you know, I've been involved with Live Local. On Monday, I gave a presentation to Daytona Beach to Commissioners, she does a town hall over there at Margaritaville. There was about 90 residents there. I gave them a presentation over there, and I'm continuing to send them the information so that they can contact their legislative delegation. Just so that you know, I think we're making progress. There has been a revision bill filed by Senator Osgood from Broward County. Now, the revision is
Parking.
it's for parking, but it literally opens the door for other revisions to be attached. And so I had communicated that to the Volusia delegation. Hey, there's been a revision bill that has been issued on the Live Local Act. I gave them again our major revisions that we're looking for. Again, I notified them all. And it just so happens we got notification today that we're going to be going to Tallahassee on Monday. I'll be going to Tallahassee on Monday and be working on this same subject matter. So hopefully we're getting some progress on getting the revisions and getting our priorities in there. So I did tell them that I would help them with the changes, and I guess they took me up on it. So we'll see what happens with that. No guarantees, but it is with the Florida Housing Coalition and some representatives there. So if you don't know, the Florida Housing Coalition worked with the Florida Housing Finance Corporation to craft this particular bill, and I think they're finally recognizing. We've been doing our homework, and we got 8 recommendations that we've been proposing, and right now, as I told Senator Wright in the last conference call we had with them, they seem to be spot on, and nobody has issued any objections here. We're what, 2 months or 3 months into our negotiations with this here, and so we're spot on. We've got it nailed down pretty good, and everything that we've got is fact-based and justified, and so we feel pretty good about where our position is, and glad to take the lead on that. And a lot of other cities and counties are relying on us to lead this endeavor, and so we'd be glad to carry the torch. And thank you for your support for allowing me to lead the way and trusting me to analyze the bill and making sure that we protect the interest of our residents. I tell everyone that even though we're leading and everything, that's our main focus is our residents and to protect this community. And being a lifelong Volusian, I see all these particular problems elsewhere, and the public servant part of me, if I don't tell you that of these particular problems, then I'm not a public servant. It goes beyond City of DeBary, but I have to let you know what these problems I see so that you can fix them. And so they've been very appreciative. In the last conference call, there's been a lot of thanks to the City of DeBary for leading the way and being the spokesperson for some of this change. And so thank you very much. And then don't forget the holiday parade is Sunday at 3 p.m. So I think you have to be 2:30 at your station.
2 o'clock or whatever.
2 o'clock at your
I
station.
think.
Are we riding in a hay bale again?
I think you're riding on some type of hail bay. Yes.
Really? You're bringing back the hay bale?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, boy.
And pray that the rainstorm holds off.
Yeah. The Corvettes were I don't know if the Corvettes have come back or not, but yeah. So anyway, that's the way it is. Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate it. Merry Christmas to each and every one, everybody.
City Attorney, do you have anything to report?
Merry Christmas.
That's a great report. With that, we stand adjourned.